Welcome to Creative Caregiving and Beyond. More and more people are having to become caregivers for their elderly loved ones, and navigating this journey can be really difficult. This podcast will provide guidance and give practical tips for your family. Your host is Wendy Whiteman, elder law attorney, author, speaker, and leading insight advisor in senior protocol and senior lifestyle trends. Know that you are not alone in getting the help that you need. Let's get started. And here's Wendy.
Well, welcome to another episode of Creative Caregiving Beyond. And today we have a special guest, Logan Hassinger, with Sage Senior Support, and he's got some wonderful information. So let's get started.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Wendy.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. I'm so excited. I've been reading about you and your service that you offer. Tell us how you got started in the senior support area.
Yeah, so it's it was I go back to about I guess 12, 13 years ago now.
Okay.
My wife's grandparents, Mima and Papa, we had dinner with them every Friday night as my wife and I go back way to high school sweethearts and now married. And so I was really close to them, and seeing them age like everybody does. She developed cancer, and her grandfather had early onset dementia and actually quickly digressed.
Okay.
And so had nothing to do, we knew nothing about senior living. I was working a corporate job. My wife had her stuff. My in-laws were, he drove a UPS truck, and she worked at a carpet selling store. So
Okay.
we're just navigating, trying to help them, find a place for her grandmother. As the cancer kind of took an aggressive route, and her grandfather, moving from place to place. He had a little bit of some aggression associated with his dementia, and as he progressed, and we're just trying to find places. So we ended up buying their home so that they could sell it for money to pay for care. And fast forward about 7 years later, I was dabbling in real estate, and I had a corporate finance job that was my full-time role. And I kind of had an aha moment of, from the past clients that we've served and some referrals that we've come across, there seems to be a shift in who we were serving, which were the adult children of seniors, going through what we did, 7 years prior to that of, hey, mom, we're needing to sell the house. Mom's needing additional care that we can provide. And, this is really all we have. So, we went forward. And now here I am 3 years running Sage Senior Support. And really it's, real estate is a key component to what we do. But there's a whole lot more going on with a family than just simply selling a house and what are we doing with the stuff.
Right. Right.
And so, whether it's finding a place for mom, maybe bringing in home health and having some support at home before they're not quite ready to make that jump from home to an assisted living or memory care community. So there's just a lot of things that we try to connect them with resource wise, and really connect with them emotionally on that journey, because we've been there.
Okay.
Just recently with my grandparents, my grandfather and grandmother last summer, and navigating that whole journey with my mom as she was trying to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
I just kind of jumped in, and leading up to that summer, she still didn't understand what Sage Senior Support was about. She understood the real estate aspect of it, but after I just got in there and went, she had the moment of, oh, now I get what you do. I don't know what people do without you. So that was something that really hit home for me, that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And
Right.
so it's really been a calling for me.
Correct.
And I enjoy just being able to answer the phone, and whether somebody's got property that's involved in this transition or not, we're still there to help them. I'll ask some questions to kind of get some additional information out of. They always, oh, what's the real estate guy asking me about, home health or home modifications or Medicaid law,
Right.
all the things that, hey, are you a veteran? Well, yeah, my dad was. And I said, oh, are you getting aid and attendance benefits? I have no idea. So it's just things like that really, then they get those benefits, a few months later, and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That was a lifesaver for on the income side of things.
Right.
Senior living is not a cheap route
That's true.
when families are looking to move mom or dad because it's just no longer safe at home. So some sticker shock involved in all that process, and we just try to walk them through what that journey looks like and connect with them on a deeper level than just a transaction.
Okay.
So
Okay. Well, wow, you guys offer quite a plethora of services and much needed because
thank you.
much the community are not aware of what their options are, especially with selling a house.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what does that process look like if you encounter, say, for instance, a potential scenario with a family and their loved one is possibly going to a senior living facility or somewhere? So what do you do? Do they come in for a consultation, or how does that work?
So I worded it just as that, as a consultation.
Okay.
It's typically best, if a home is involved, we'll visit the home with them and sit down with them. And really it starts with education. So, when it comes to real estate, I can do a lot of it from behind the scenes. So it's just kind of getting the address of the home, and I can get the rest of the details about it, the size, the bedroom count, bathrooms, all the particulars about the property. And then I'll put together kind of a comparable report to show them, hey, this is what your little neighborhood's doing. We've got a couple of homes that are selling, some that have sold, some that are under contract, and giving them a fresh lens of, everybody thinks that, my house is worth $300,000 or $400,000, whatever that number may be. And while it may be, we've got to at least show them what a home looks like in today's market, from aesthetics to renovation level, what buyers are wanting in a home, and so it's just setting the stage for what a home's selling in their particular neighborhood.
Okay.
And then we kind of walk them through, hey, most scenarios that we're walking into, I call them time capsules. Mom or dad's been there since the 70s, 80s.
Yes.
They've kept up with it, but it's got wood paneling, or it's got Formica countertops. It usually has a combination of everything.
Shag carpet.
Yellow shag carpet. We've seen it.
Yeah.
And so it's just saying, hey, we've kind of illustrated what homes are selling for. To get it to that level of renovation, then we walk through an itemized renovation list. And it's nothing that I'm telling them to go do, unless they want to. We've had very few clients ask to have us renovate for them, and then they sell it. That's another path we'll get into here in a second. But I'll walk them through the renovation list, which sets a kind of a budget for what we need to do. So I start them with, the top number. Let's say your house is worth $400,000. After renovations, it's going to take about $85,000 to $100,000 to renovate. And then we take out what we're trying to make on the home, because like I said, we are renovating the home and trying to resell it for a profit. There's no hiding behind a screen there. And then it gives them a net number after paying off a potential mortgage. Most of our families do not have a mortgage on their home. It's been paid off for years. And so we get them a cash offer that is good for the next 6 months. And so, you see a lot of times, we can close in 2 weeks. Our families are never ready to sell in 2 weeks. That's just not how it works. There's a lot more.
Especially with seniors, you've got to move at their pace.
Yeah, you move at their pace. And so, and you got to understand
and we'll make that clear.
Right. You got to understand that their kids are also having to navigate at that same pace too.
That's true.
They may be wanting to move faster than mom or dad.
Yeah.
But that's just not how it goes.
Are you usually dealing with the children?
9 times out of 10, yes.
Okay, got it.
Very rarely are we working with a senior directly. And if we are, I do have, hey, do you have a neighbor or a friend, somebody that can come in and just be an advocate for you while we go through this? I don't particularly like working with a senior directly, just because we've had a poor experience in the past with one.
Yeah.
We're working with a lady. She was moving into an assisted living, and shortly within 2 days of signing a contract to purchase the home, we had a call from a number from Utah, an estranged daughter who was getting involved, had another family member getting involved, and hey, how dare you do this? And so I quickly stepped back. I canceled the contract. Not worth it.
Right.
To go through that, and it snowballed.
Yeah.
I won't go into the whole mess that was eventually created for mom.
Right.
But it's a family that had lost touch.
Right.
And so I try to advocate for making sure that they've got somebody there with them too. even if it's just a neighbor, and we're
Exactly.
walking through that. So my reputation means everything to what we're doing, and we can sometimes get the feeling that, oh, you're going to come in and you're lowball us or give us a non-competitive offer, and you're just taking advantage of the situation. And I do everything I can to make sure that they understand where I'm coming from. I've been in your shoes, and let's walk this together. Not I'm just trying to profit off of your
Right.
situation. So.
Right.
But yeah, it's, even when it comes to the sale of the home, it's, what are you doing with the contents? Have you thought about an estate sale?
Mm,
Let's try to maximize everything you have, because I know where the dollars are going. And
right.
so I'm there to give them as much money for that home as reasonably possible.
Mhm.
And if that doesn't work for me in my offer, then let's look at putting it on the market. You
Mhm.
you don't need to do anything with it. You can list it as is. And then that brings up other hurdles of, well, I don't want to do showings, and I don't want people coming through the home, and I don't want to negotiate with people, and I don't want agents. And it's not always as bad as what they make it out to sound like.
Right.
So I try to walk them through that too.
How do you
And
handle that though if they don't want someone to come in? Because I know sometimes
yeah,
seniors they don't even want home health to come in.
no, no.
So how do you?
We've had two clients in the Frisco area. And it was
Okay.
actually two sisters. They almost backed up to each other through an alleyway, and they had some health complications, and they had nice homes. They were unwilling to compromise when it came to anybody coming in. So I
Okay.
mean, I wore a mask, I wore shoe booties, I wore gloves,
Hmm.
and you know, it's just what they wanted if
Right.
this were going to work for them.
Yeah.
They were very nervous of coming off of COVID and all that stuff.
Right.
They just didn't know how it was going to impact them, and
Hmm.
and they were like, we know we can sell this home for more. It's just not worth it to us. My health and I'm just, she was just very adamant that
Yeah.
this is what I want. I know I'm selling it for less than I should be, but this is what makes me, happy that it's
Hmm.
just it's
Hmm.
one and done.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to the real estate, traditional path,
Hmm.
I just try to say, look, it's not as bad as it sounds.
Right.
But especially if mom or dad's not living there anymore.
Yeah.
If mom or dad's already been transitioned to some form of assisted living or memory care community, it's a lot easier. You can schedule the tours kind of based on, whatever window you've set, and you can probably make a little bit more than where I can get you. It's just most homes I walk into, they don't need me. It's, hey, you need more. You need eyeballs. You need people looking at this home. You don't just need one person or maybe two or three of us that buy homes, cash. But it's just trying to give them some honest advice about what they have, and build a connection with them, and hopefully that goes beyond just the real estate piece.
Wow,
So
that's wonderful. I mean, your candidness and your
yeah,
honesty with a business transaction.
yep.
You don't find that today.
No, I mean, and the only way that we make money is if I buy a home, I fix it up, and I renovate, sell it for a profit.
Yeah.
So me doing a consultation for a family doesn't necessarily earn me a dollar in that moment.
Hmm.
But what I hope that it earns is a referral down the road that, hey, Logan really took care of us. He understood where we were coming from. And, while we didn't end up using him for real estate services,
Hmm.
I've had 3 or 4 calls from family members of someone we have just did a 30-minute phone call with, and it's like, hey, you got to call Logan. So I'll get a call like, oh yeah, I remember that family.
Yeah.
Um, and they'll need the assistance on the real estate piece. So I put my faith in God,
Yeah.
and that I was put down this path for a reason, and I'm enjoying it. So
Well, very good. That's good to hear and very refreshing to hear
yeah,
for people in any business transaction, and especially in real estate. It can be very, you know, um, scary for people because they may not. That's one of the transactions that don't occur as often in one's life.
yep.
And
And it's kind of, for a lot of the families that we serve, it is their biggest asset.
yeah,
It
yeah,
it is everything that they truly do have
yeah,
to get mom to where, end of life.
right.
And so one of the quick calculations that they always do is they'll take the number that I've offered, or the number that they could potentially get down a different path, and divide that by the monthly cost at one of these communities.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, great, I've got 62 months, or I've got 36 months, or it's varying based on the cost and what we're offering. But that's what comes to front of mind for them is, how do we maximize this so that we know that mom is taken care of?
Right.
And yes, the ladies outlive the men. There's very few. When my grandfather was transitioning into assisted living, it was one of the questions, is there any other men here? And there was, out of 50 or so residents, there was 4 more. And
Oh,
so, he gravitated towards them, had some
yes.
coffee,
Yeah.
talk golf and other things that they want to talk about. But the ladies outlive the men. So most times we're working with the daughter and their mother. So I enjoy being able to help them because there's a lot going on,
Yeah.
and they're more emotionally attached to all the things that are going on.
That's true.
The men are just, what's the number? All right, get out of here. It's very cut and dry.
Yes.
No offense,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just it's how
Well,
a lot of men
I
think.
can see that women are definitely more attached to
Yeah.
the home and all the sentimental
hmm
things that they've accumulated.
Yeah.
And how do you handle? Well, have you seen that progress when there's so much to downsize, so much to
Mhm.
pack up, and how are they letting go of that? Or do you work with other sources to
Yeah, so
help you with
that's a
that?
great point. So I work with a couple of different resources on that front, from
Okay.
downsizing, decluttering,
Mhm.
moving, packing, and it just depends. Most of them are paid for services.
Okay.
So first and foremost, they've got to have the financial resources to kind of get there. If they don't, a lot of times what we'll do is be able to front that cost,
Okay.
assuming they're moving forward with us on the real estate piece. We can upfront the moving expenses or
Okay.
the first month's move in at the senior living community, and
Oh,
we
that's
get
nice.
reimbursed.
Yeah.
So it's nothing that we're just giving away,
Right.
but
Right.
we do get them reimbursed, and it gives them a 30-60 day window
Right.
to where they can release some of that financial stress
Yeah.
on top of the moving.
Yeah.
And so
Gives them some breathing room
yeah.
there.
And
It's
so,
like, yeah.
there's always, any downsizer or mover will tell you, especially with just working with seniors, is you got a pile to keep, you got a pile to donate, you got a pile to, give to friends and family,
Mhm.
and just the memento stuff. And so you're just trying to, take it down small steps at a time.
Right.
That's one of the biggest daunting things to what we do is like, okay, great. So you're going to buy the house. Well, what are we going to do with all this stuff? Nobody wants the china set. Nobody wants the couch. We all have our own things.
Right.
And the I don't want to say a selling point, but
Mhm.
a component to what we do is, hey, take what you want and leave what you don't.
Mhm.
You don't need to broom sweep this place. You don't need to wipe down the countertops. It's just, take the recliner, take the photos, take the ottoman, take the bed, and leave everything else.
Yeah.
Well, what are we going to do with it? Well, we'll handle it.
Yeah.
Generally, handling it means that, we don't want it. I'm not in the stuff business.
Right.
So it is going to be, we've got a couple of charities and local churches that will give
Oh,
some
good.
gently used items to.
Okay.
But for the most part, it does get, it does go into a large, trash bin out front.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't try to sugarcoat it with the adult children. Mom or dad, I'm not telling them, oh yeah, we're just gonna throw it all away. We're not doing that.
No, you can't say that in front of mom and
Can't say
dad.
that.
Yeah.
So this is their stuff.
Right. Right.
So but it's helping the adult children navigate what are we doing with all this?
Yeah.
And so take what you want, leave what you don't, and we'll handle it from there.
Well, I was just talking to a client not too long ago, and I know they were, downsizing their parents' home, and
Mhm.
they had pets.
Yep.
Do you ever come across that?
Yes. And the pets are a little bit challenging because most communities, especially if mom or dad has got some cognitive decline,
Mhm.
pets are usually not welcomed at these
Mhm.
communities. Now, a lot of the assisted livings will take the pet as long as mom or dad can keep up with them.
Okay.
But if they can't, I've got a couple that are here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area that are, rescue places that will
Okay.
take the animal and try to place them.
Yeah.
We've had some instances where a grandkid will come in and take the pet, but it's just it's trying to give them some peace of mind around their animal.
Right.
My grandfather was in that boat. They had a little bitty Yorkie that went with them everywhere. And when it came time, he really wasn't capable of keeping up with the dog any longer. And so, family, we had some distant family that were like, we'll take him.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it's another added component to, what are we doing? I don't even know where to start with giving a pet away.
Right, right.
There are some local charities and um, rescue places that will help in that
Up
scenario.
with that
Yeah.
situation.
Hmm.
I've had a client, I had to pick up a dog one time. This was
Yeah.
had nothing to do with my legal
Right.
case or anything like that, but I just love pets, and but I can see how that is
Yeah.
very heart uh, uh,
To just let them go.
tugging just to let them
To
go.
let them go. I mean, because
Yeah,
that's a little. I mean, you look at some of the kids' hospitals. I
right,
mean, one of the big things is they bring animals through to just kind of calm them down. And so
right.
an animal does. Well, I've got 3 dogs myself, so I love my animals too. I don't know what it'd be like if I just physically couldn't take them with me because my own health. So
Exactly.
it's not easy. In trying to help your parents, age in place or age into some other living arrangement. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of moving parts, and we try to do our best to put them in front of professionals that specialize in the certain areas that
Hmm.
I'll listen first and figure out where they need. Especially with Medicaid,
Yeah.
and selling a house in Medicaid, you can get into some trouble.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
that's I didn't know anything about this
Yeah.
3 years ago,
Yeah.
and so just networking with folks like you and being
Mhm.
able to understand at a high level.
Mhm.
I'm not there to walk them through a full plan, but they'll, oh, I've got this ladybird deed, I'm gonna do that. Oh, okay, you've already done some research, that's great,
Yes.
but
Yes.
uh, would you consider a 1 hour consultation with somebody just so you can understand that it's not just as simple as going to your local title office and signing a ladybird deed,
Right.
or
Exactly.
a due on sale deed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of things that can be impacted with the sale of a home, and Medicaid, and getting those benefits if a family is interested in that is something that I try to make them aware of.
Yes.
Because the last thing I want is 3 years down the road they're calling me back and saying, "Hey, mom passed, and now the state's coming after the house."
Right.
Well,
Right.
you know, eh, and so I try to avoid that now that I know,
Right.
and kind of go from there. So
Well, that's great. I mean, well, on your part, it's a lot of information that you have to take in, and
mhm,
then at least know what's a trigger,
yes.
and that's a great educational process for
Right.
you.
Yeah, it's
To the
it's been a
public.
lot of
Yeah.
deep dive into
Yeah.
Medicaid. I don't, by no means do I try to put myself as a Medicaid expert,
Yeah.
but I know surface level, but income limit. They change every year. So you've got
Exactly.
income limits and asset limits and 5-year look back periods, and so just being aware of
Aware
what
of
they
it.
are,
Yeah.
and just
Yes.
pointing that out to a family and say, "Have you considered this?" "No, I haven't." "Okay, the other hurdle is they got to get over. Wait, did you say attorney? Oh, I don't know about that. And I said, I try to
I know.
correlate
I
it.
get that all the time.
Yeah.
An attorney. Oh no.
No, 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 we're not going that path. And I try to illustrate that to, a senior living community, whether it's assisted living or memory care. I mean, you're probably ranging anywhere from 4 to 8,000 a month.
Hmm.
And, what if you could kind of get that out of the way in the first couple of months, and then Medicaid kicks in for, for the rest of, 90% of the coverage that
Right.
you're going to need for mom or dad. Oh, okay. Well, when you put it that way, that's not so bad. And so again, it's just about talking to people that may, first bring up some, whoa, I don't know about that, some
Yeah.
fear involved, and just trying to, walk them through what it means to go that path or this
Hmm.
path. The same thing we do with the real estate piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And it is truly, the fear of the unknown.
mhm,
And once people know their options, I mean, they do calm down
yeah,
and figure out, well, there is a way.
yep,
Yeah, there is a way
yep.
here. Yeah. Yeah. So can you think of a story or a family in particular that you've helped out that's really stuck out in your mind? Or,
Yeah,
yeah.
so not all the time, but we've got some families that are out of state. Mom or dad is still here,
Oh, yeah.
and so one of the very first families that when I opened up State Senior Support was that we served was the brother lived in St. Louis,
Okay.
married, had his whole family up there.
Hmm.
The daughter or his sister lived in Houston. She was battling cancer. Mom was they had a home in Plano,
Hmm.
and mom had been moved out of that home for about a year and a half. She was uh, had dementia. She was in a
Okay.
memory care community, and every time they came in town, they were visiting mom, but it was business because then they had to go check on the house.
Yeah.
It'd been vacant for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And one of the worst things you can do with a house is leave it vacant. A home is meant to be lived in.
Yeah.
It needs water running through the pipes. It needs the HVAC on.
Yes.
All the things that we do when we live in a
That's
home
true.
was not
That's
happening.
true.
And so, they'd come in, they'd flush the toilets and do all this. And they had neighbors that would check on the home, mow the grass. And, you got to keep the utilities on because you don't need that thing, fluctuating in severe temperatures. And so they just, at a certain point, just had enough. They're like, we're tired of coming. We want to come see mom. We didn't come here for the house.
Right.
And, that was their parents' only home. So, I mean, they'd been there since the 60s. That was these kids' only place that they ever grew up until they moved on out of college. And, they think about the memories, the Christmases, the Thanksgivings, the birthday parties. That was where they grew up. And so, just they had reached the point of, we're done. We need some help. We just need to sell this. And so that's a very common theme for families is they reach that point of, they're overwhelmed, and then they're not giving it away.
Right. Right.
My process does not change. I even showed them a path to listing it with an agent, and it was just, we don't want to mess with it.
Right.
We want to be able to shake your hand, sign this document, and be done in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And that one we did move a little bit faster because the home was already vacant.
Yeah.
But actually, they needed an estate sale. I mean, they had some old jukeboxes. I mean, they had some cool stuff in there. And so I called up a friend of mine that does, not all estate sale companies are the same.
Yeah.
And the ones that focus on, I think, they all serve seniors in some capacity.
Yeah.
But there's some specialty estate sale companies out there that I really like. And I'll put them in front of it. They're like, man, they've sold stuff I never would have thought would have sold. And I said, see, it makes no difference to them. They weren't there. So that was a fun opportunity to be able to serve them and bring some closure to, now they just get to come be a kid, be their son or daughter to their mom again, and versus having to always check on this home that was lingering over here. So most of our families are in some form or fashion are just, throwing their hands in the air, and I'm trying to walk them back off the ledge a little bit, and show some clear paths. But that's a story for me that, is one of the first families that we really served in, around the Sage Senior Support, logo and name and everything. And it was just, I always think back to that moment. So.
Oh, well, that's very helpful because our families, in my line of business and your line of business, they're dealing with a lot of different emotional things on top of a real estate sale.
Yep.
And selling real estate can be, a property can be emotional anyway. But when you factor in mom or dad, and the siblings working together that really hadn't had to work together in years.
And sometimes they don't work together.
And sometimes they don't work together. That's true.
That's another hurdle that some families have to get over.
Yes.
And work through, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
We've had that too, but it's a lot of things happening at once.
It is a lot of things happening at once, and that's great that you're mastering that art of.
I wouldn't say mastering. I'm working on it every day.
You're working on it every day.
I'm working on it every day. So I'm always trying to find ways that I can better serve the families that we come across, and one day I'll master it, but not today.
Well, you're doing a great job. We've gotten great feedback on your services.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and you've got some resources here with you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this.
I've got, we started off the conversation about Meemaw.
Yes, Meemaw.
That's who's on the cover of this book here. And now I'm not an author. We partnered with an author to put this book together and offer it as a free resource. So that's Meemaw and myself at my wife and I's wedding years ago. In that, on that cover, she was battling cancer, and is you wouldn't know it, but wearing a wig, and we danced.
She looked very happy.
She was very happy. And so that was the inspiration behind it. So really what this book, it's called Paying for Long-Term Care. And it just kind of goes over the multiple strategies around the financial component of paying for long-term care in some capacity. So yes, the home is in all of that is in there, but it starts with a story. because that's where all of these begin. And slowly but surely, you can find it for free on our website at sageseniorsupport.com/free-book.
Very
And
good.
it's free to have, and read through it. It's a short read. It doesn't take a whole lot to get through it. And if people have questions, they can always reach out to us on the website, and we get back to them pretty quickly. It's just me, so who you see is what you get. I wear all the hats.
Yes.
So
yes.
there won't be anybody else answering the phone. It'll
Yeah.
be me, and trying to get to know that person and what they're going through. So
I bet you get people will come back to you and say, I read it last night.
yep.
And
And it's like, hey, I put some sticky notes on this, that, and this.
yes.
And then
yes.
we'll talk about those items.
Yeah.
And like, okay, and they're just looking for some additional clarification around those things. And yeah, it's people come to us in all different phases of the transition, is what I call it. And so some are just starting and know where to go, and they stumbled upon my business, or others were referred to us after they've already kind of made the transition. Others were coming through to us from an estate sale company, home health, hospice. Unfortunately, with who we serve, it also comes with a passing of a loved one. So if a family's inheriting a home and they're just they want nothing to do with it, they can't afford it, they don't want it, it's got a culmination of things going on.
Right.
We help in those situations too. So a little bit different of a dynamic after going through probate and doing all the legal work necessary to be able to sell the home. But yeah, that's we've come in different stages of that
That's
transition.
true.
So
That's so true.
it's not always where they need a whole host of resources, and then we're there for every single piece.
Right.
It like I said, it's kind of different phases of it, and we help where we can.
Help where you can.
Yep.
And the other, I know you've got your website. You've got Mima's book. I call it Mima's book.
Yeah, Mima's book. That's right. Yeah.
Any other resources you have?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of different other resources on the website. We've got a resource tab at sageseniorsupport.com.
Okay.
And we've got a blog where we've written, a lot of different articles about a lot of different topics.
Okay.
There's some free resources also. We call it the Transition Blueprint.
Oh.
It's kind of a 5-step piece to more somebody who's in the beginning.
Okay.
We've got I put together with I call it the Medicaid roadmap, but it's really just scenarios.
Yeah.
It's kind of helping somebody understand, okay, Bill and Susan make this much, and they've got this, and they're looking at okay, that wouldn't qualify them, and it just gives some practical advice around Medicaid, and then points them over to Wendy here. So I will always push somebody to hiring a professional, because when it comes to the legal aspect, I think that's definitely needed.
Yeah.
So we've got that. I've got a personal organizer.
Okay.
All these items are free. The personal organizer is something to where you can open up and you start putting in bank accounts, phone passwords, all the things that you wish you had when a loved one's passed.
Right.
And so having that in one place, some people want a hard copy, so you can print it off, write it in there, or you've got a digital version and store it away somewhere safe, because it's going to have a lot of information, from insurance. A lot of people, they'll lose somebody and there was life insurance, but they don't know who the carrier was.
Exactly. Yeah.
They don't know who they're calling, and so some of that stuff just goes unclaimed.
You're right. You're right. We see that every day. You're right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's something that people don't think about until they absolutely have to.
Yeah.
And then by that time, it's usually too late.
Yeah.
And so it's just bringing awareness to that aspect of losing a loved one. And then we've got some other ancillary items on there too. Everything's on the website under our resource tab, and if they need more, then we can work together to figure it out.
All right then.
So
now, what final word of advice would you give a family that has elderly parents or grandparents, and this is looking like it's on the horizon, that they're going to need care at some point?
Yeah. So I think back to a family that I'm helping right now, and the biggest thing is, they're so overwhelmed they do nothing, and we
sometimes it's a safe place for a moment,
and then that moment turns into days, and weeks and months, and in this case, they're getting phone calls that, hey, mom's wandering the neighborhood, mom she got in her car and she put it in park mid-drive. Things like that.
Right.
And so, they're finally at the point where, okay, now we got to make a decision. Yeah. And so we do that with anything that we jump into something, we educate ourselves, and then we don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So taking action is really what I think is the most important thing, especially when it comes to a loved one who's showing some signs of some cognitive decline,
Yeah.
and making sure that, this isn't something that you're forcing a move. You don't have the capacity to care for them. They don't have the capacity to care for themselves either. It's out of love that you're putting this in place.
Yeah.
And so getting over that guilt and taking action is I think one of the most important things to do in this process. So
And
That's
that's refreshing coming from you, since you've been there, you've walked it too.
yeah,
So not just you're spouting
just
words
spouting
when-
something that I've seen from afar. No,
Exactly.
I've seen it 4 times now,
Yeah.
and most families see it once or twice, and you're just trying to get through it.
Right.
You're just trying to have it done and get back to life.
Right.
And you never think about it again, and that's okay. I understand where they're coming from, but if I can help make that process a little bit less stressful,
Mm-hmm.
then please, let us step in
Yeah.
and point you in the right direction. So take action. That's my
Yes.
number one.
Take action.
That's my number one thing, is take some action.
Well, that's great. That's a good note there, to take action. And Logan, thank you so much
Yeah.
for coming on. And
Thank
this
you,
has
Mindy.
been great information for our families out there and viewing audience. Thank you so much for tuning in to Creative Caregiving and Beyond. And don't forget to subscribe and like our channel. And we hope you've enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you next time.